Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Casey Carroll, and thank you for joining us at the Center for Teaching Excellence for our webinar, Design, Planning, and Online Course. As you may know, this is part of our 3D course series. Technically, there are four, so this is number 2. So please make sure to join us in the next couple of weeks for Develop and Deliver. So today's webinar facilitator is Dr. Gloria Washington. She is an instructional designer with the Center for Teaching Excellence. So please join me in welcoming Gloria by typing welcome or hello in the chat box, and I will pass it off to you, Gloria.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome again to the webinar Design, Planning, and Online Course. Design is the first phase of the 3D's instructional design model, Design, Develop, and Deliver. So in this webinar, we will focus on course design, which is the forethought and planning that goes into an online course. So we'll discuss and cover such things as maximizing student learning. We'll talk about backward design, alignment, talk about how you can organize your course into modules, and then we'll consider some factors that are a part of design, such as interactions between content, instructors, and students. We'll discuss Chickering and Gampson's 7 principles, which outline the foundation for making your online course active, cooperative, and relevant. And as an added bonus, we're going to throw in some handy templates to get you started. So if you registered for this webinar, you will receive an email with the PowerPoint presentation and handouts. So please take a few seconds to read this copyright statement. This presentation may contain materials which have been used under license or for educational purposes. As shown in the table on this slide, a synchronous online course requires students to participate in online meetings or lectures at specific days and times. An asynchronous online course requires students to complete activities and assignments on their own time to meet course deadlines. So before you move into the design, develop, and delivery phases for online course development, you first want to select the most appropriate online format, asynchronous or synchronous. Then you want to establish a reasonable timeline for developing your online course. I recommend allowing about 6 to 12 months for course development. However, it is possible for you to develop your course in 3 to 6 months. It is also best practice to have the online course ready for students at least 2 weeks prior to the course start date. The university's quality assurance standards for online and blended courses are based on the Quality Matters Higher Education Course Design Rubric Standards. The Quality Matters rubric is a set of standards that are used for online and blended courses so that they can encompass best practices and procedures. The University Quality Assurance Standards consist of 9 general standards and several specific standards. So 5 critical components, which are colored here: learning outcome objectives, assessment and measurement, instructional materials, learning activities, and student interaction, and course technology all work together to ensure that students achieve the desired learning outcomes and objective. When they are aligned, each of these components is directly tied to and supports the learning outcomes and objectives. So keep in mind, learning outcomes and objectives should be created first because they serve as a guide to determining the other 4 critical components. By nature, instructors tend to start planning courses by creating a list of what they want their students to do, watch videos to watch, chapters to read, assignments to complete, tests to take. But is this the best way? By starting with the end in mind, What should students be able to do by the time they finish the course? Instructors can create meaningful learning experience. This is what we call backward design, a concept credited to Wiggins and Matique, sorry I mispronounced that, through their understanding by design. The use of Blackboard design, backward design, provides for more relevant and meaningful learning experiences, ensures that the required course outcomes are met, and prepares students to perform successfully throughout the course. There are 3 basic steps. First, identify desired results. What should students be able to do after provided instruction? Second, determine evidence. How will you assess that your students have achieved these outcomes? Identify assessments to show when and whether students can perform the learning outcomes. Plan learning experiences. What instructional materials and activities do students need to complete to be able to successfully achieve the learning outcomes? So let's take a deeper dive into backward design. As I mentioned, the first step of backward design is determining your desired results. Students perform at a high level when instructors articulate their expectations through course learning outcomes and module learning objectives. In identifying results, you'll first want to pinpoint broad, higher order thinking learning outcomes. Then you'll break them down into more manageable, lower level module learning objectives, framing the learning as appropriate. Course learning outcomes and module learning objectives need to be written in a measurable format and must be student-centered. So when referring to measurable, we mean you can assess whether the student has mastered the skill. Instructors often use action verbs identified in the revised Bloom's taxonomy to write these out. So the complexity of these outcomes depends completely on your course level and the skill set of your students. So what exactly is Bloom's revised taxonomy? In its simplest definition, it is a classification system that helps to perform learning higher order forms of thinking. The 6 levels of Bloom start with remember as the foundation and ascend to the highest level, which is create. Each level has corresponding action verbs, which are increasing in complexity and which can also help you identify the type of assessment you will need to use. An example of an outcome for remember might be the student would be able to define key terminology used in medical transcription. An example for create, which requires a higher level of thinking, might be the student would be able to design a wedding dress. We recommend that when developing your outcomes and objectives, you keep a copy of the Bloom's revised taxonomy handy. So before we move into the next step of the Bloom's taxonomy, next step of the backward design, let's take a look at some of these measurable outcomes. So what I'd like you to do is in the chat area, type the number of the outcome or outcomes that are not measurable. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it 1 through 4? Is it 1 and 2, 3 and 4? So let's type some numbers in that chat area. Which outcomes are not measurable? Okay, I see a 1 and a 2 coming in. 1 and 2 as a combination, 2 by itself, 1 and 2 again as a combination, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 as a combination as well. Thanks for your responses. Numbers 1 and 2 are outcomes that are not measurable. So learning outcomes begin with an action verb. Then they describe an outcome that are outcomes that are measurable. and they are written from the student's perspective. So after identifying the desired results, learning outcomes, the next step in the backward design process is to determine acceptable evidence. How will you measure student learning? What will you accept as evidence that students are making progress towards the learning outcomes of the course? How will you know if they are getting it? Measuring student progress towards the course outcomes is an important part of the learning process. So assessments enable you to determine how the student is progressing towards achieving the overall learning outcomes. Authentic assessments are most effective, and assessments can be either formative or summative. So formative assessments measure student progress as they develop skills and abilities, while summative assessments summarize learning over a longer period of development, like a midterm and final exams. It is recommended that formative assessments be included as well as summative ones. So when planning how you will collect evidence of learning, consider a wide range of ways that students can demonstrate their knowledge. For example, consider assignments, research projects, discussions, quizzes, exams, blogs, wikis, student-created videos, and other graded work. Develop assessments that will really measure what you say the student should be able to do. Many of you have heard of rubrics or may even provide them to students along with other grading criteria for assignments and assessments. It's considered best practice to provide students with detailed information on how their work will be assessed. So a rubric is a scoring guide that outlines the criteria you will use to evaluate student work. They are often presented in chart format, and they tell students up front what the expectations are for the assessment. Grading for all assignments should be clearly stated. Student self-assessment occurs when they evaluate their own performance. This allows them to objectively reflect on and critically evaluate their own skills. Identify gaps in their understanding and their performance. Discern how to improve their performance. Learn independently and think critically and manage their own learning. You can introduce students to the idea of using structured formative self-assessments during the learning process by having them complete a reflective blog, for example, about their own learning and achievements. Ask students structured questions about the quality of their submissions or group contributions or class discussions, or using published prepared online quizzes that give students immediate feedback on their performance. Feedback given to students is a critical importance to students' experience and outcome when learning online. Therefore, you should plan ahead for student feedback during course design. You want to give frequent, timely, and quality feedback to students on their graded work and on their participation. Students should know how they are always progressing throughout the course. So consider summarizing weekly discussions or using discussion boards for questions and answers, such as a course cafe or frequently asked questions, or even holding virtual office hours. For paper assignments, use Blackboard's inline grading or Microsoft Word's comment feature. In Blackboard, you can create automatically graded quizzes and exams and provide feedback. Even consider providing audio feedback. Also, give students an opportunity to provide feedback about your course, the instruction, and their learning as well. The final step in backward design is to plan the learning experiences and instruction for your students. How will you teach what they need to be able to achieve your desired results. This involves deciding what activities the students would do during the course and what resources and materials are needed for those activities. Be sure that the instructional materials you choose support the learning outcomes and module objectives. Put yourself in the student's shoes. If you knew nothing about the subject, would the materials within the course be enough to enable you to meet the stated learning outcomes, objectives? Students have different tendencies when it comes to learning, so you'll want to vary your information sources. Videos, instructor created or from other sources, activities, readings, and external resources. Whether your course is fully online, blended, hybrid, or face-to-face, the Chickering and Gampson 7 Principles of Good Practice for good teaching and learning in colleges and universities can be applied to all courses. So when you take a look at the first two principles, these deal with instructor-to-student interactions and student-to-student interactions. Students can interact with their students at the start of an online course by posting a welcome video. Also, instructors can communicate with students throughout weekly announcements and emails. Student introductions are a great way for students to get to know each other and build community. You can let students introduce themselves through videos such as Flipgrid. So I'm going to post a link to a blog article about Flipgrid. So you should see that now in the chat area. Number 3, encourage active learning. Keep in mind that learning is definitely not a spectator sport. It's not like watching the Gamecocks win and become a part of the Final Four. To internalize learning, students must talk about what they are learning, write reflectively about it, relate it to their experiences, and apply it to their daily lives. Respond to student questions and problems quickly. You should respond to students within 24 to 48 hours, and students need your appropriate and timely feedback. Time plus energy equals learning. Emphasize deadlines in the syllabus and provide students with reminders about upcoming deadlines. If you have a large project in your class, break that into smaller and more manageable pieces and require students to hit benchmarks during the duration of the project. Number 6, communicate high expectations. Provide students with detailed instructions and expectations in the syllabus and in the learning management system. You can provide them with rubrics for projects and papers detailing what must be accomplished and the grade value for each of them. This allows students to know exactly what is expected of them. So we all know that many roads lead to learning. Respect diverse talents and ways of learning. For example, all discussions and formats allow discussions in formats other than text, such as video and audio. So Blackboard, there's a tool in Blackboard called VoiceThread that will allow students to be able to do discussions, and they can text, they can use video, they can even use a telephone if they want to. They can upload audio recordings. And next, let's talk about active learning. So we are going to use Padlet. So Casey's going to post that URL into the chat area. In the Padlet, I would like for you to answer this question. What active learning strategies or activities are you using right now? Is there something that you use that gets students involved in the course, the content, student-to-student interactions? And I am going to stop sharing this PowerPoint and pull up the Padlet so we can take a quick look at what's being posted. So let's see, we have student blogs about the music in the listening list, utilizing concepts from the text to describe what they hear, then provide comments to each other about what they hear. Great example of active learning strategies. Someone's placed videos, music, games. Games like Kahoot are always a great way to not only get students interacting with the content or even interacting with your lecture, is a great way through Kahoot. It's also a great review game as well. Okay, I see storytelling. So maybe you will have a speaker who does storytelling and then is followed up with some type of discussion or reflection time. Great. Okay, and I see in the chat area, VoiceThread, TechSmith, embedded videos, brainstorming, group activities with real-world examples. Thank you, and feel free to continue typing in that area. Okay, so you probably also have heard of some other active learning strategies like 1-minute paper, think, pair, share, and exit tickets. In addition to using these strategies in the face-to-face classroom environment, you can also use these in an online environment as well. So active learning activities help promote higher order thinking skills, such as application of knowledge, analysis, and synthesis, and engage students in deep rather than surface learning, enable students to apply and transfer their knowledge better. As for alignment, critical components, as I mentioned earlier, work together to ensure that students achieve the desired learning outcomes and objectives. So all of these components work together and they are linked together. So you have your measurable course learning outcomes and module learning objectives, which form the basis of alignment in a course. So your outcomes and objectives determine what it is that you want your students to be able to do by the end of a course or a module. Assessments, instructional materials, learning activities, and interactions and technologies are used in the course to contribute to the accomplishment of those learning outcomes and objectives. Prior to developing your course in Blackboard, best practice is to plan out each course module in a Word document. Course modules can be defined using a weekly format, topic, chapter, or even a unit format. So this screenshot is a picture of a Word document, and in your email you will also receive a module planning template. And so each module has a module overview, which is a brief description of what's going to be covered and what students can expect in that specific module. Then you have learning objectives, which are module level. They are more specific than your broader course outcomes. Then you have a to-do list, which is also referred to as a task list, which provides a list of all instructional content, activities, interactions, and assessments. The to-do list shown here is in a numbered format, but you can also create it in a table format as well. Although we are not going to focus on accessibility in this webinar, we want you to be aware that we need to ensure that all materials provided to students in an online course are accessible to all students from day one. You may have students that do not have a declared disability, as well as preferred learning in different methods, or second language learners who can benefit from accessible content. Blackboard contains a tool called Blackboard Ally, which converts your accessibility files into alternative formats for students. The accessibility checker in Microsoft products, such as PowerPoint and Word, assists you with making documents accessible. And if you create any lectures, the Office of Distributed Learning can help you create transcripts and or captions for your videos. And since the quality assurance standards were already discussed earlier, let's go ahead and move into Universal Design for Learning. As I discussed, Universal Design for Learning, I would like for you to think about how it might inform your teaching. So UDL refers or focuses on curriculum development that gives all individuals equal opportunity to learn. There are three primary principles based on neuroscience research that guide UDL and provide the underlying framework for the guidelines. First, there's engagement. This is the why of learning, and it refers to how students engage with the course content, the instructor, and other students, as well as how motivated students are to learn. Learning occurs when students are engaged in the process of learning. Next, representation. The what of learning refers to the ways that you present course content to your students. For example, when you provide a transcript or captions for videos, that's a different format for students to be able to internalize the course content. Action and expression. This is the how of learning, and it refers to how students demonstrate what they have learned. It allows students to show you what they know in different ways, like a video presentation instead of a paper. Providing multiple options for engagement, representation, and action and expression is essential to the design, development, and delivery of online courses. So as I mentioned earlier, Blackboard Ally is a tool within Blackboard Learning Management System. Ally gauges the accessibility of your content, and it provides you with tips and information for improvements to your content accessibility. Ally also automatically creates alternative versions of your files, which include tagged PDFs, HTML, EPUB, Braille, audio, Beeline Reader. And students can access your course content in a format that suits their needs or abilities. Some students may want to have the Word document read to them so they can listen to the audio file. If you put the document in a Word format, Ally is going to convert it to a PDF so students can read it using a PDF and don't necessarily need Microsoft Word. Running the accessibility checker in Microsoft documents such as Word and PowerPoint is an essential step to ensuring a document is fully accessible. It may not catch everything, but it would definitely help you to increase the accessibility of your document. So using the accessibility checker, you can see what elements of your document need attention to make them accessible to all learners. So let's take a look at or talk about some of the CTE templates. The instructional design team at the Center for Teaching Excellence has you covered when it comes to your course design, development, and delivery. You can use templates to build your syllabus, your course schedule, and your Blackboard course. The course design template helps you map out your entire online course using a Word document with a table format while focusing on alignment. The module design template is for pre-planning each module using a Word document before you build and develop it in Blackboard. The online course syllabus template provides you with consistent, logical, and effective navigation available through your course. So not only will you develop your course syllabus template, which also contains boilerplate language and is laid out, it also helps you by using the Blackboard online course template to build out your course following your syllabus so that when students and you also enter the course, you will see a consistent layout. You'll be able to make sense of what's going in the class. You'll know where to start, where to go next, and everything the students need to be successful is right there in that online class. Or there's links to outside content as well. So a primary purpose of a syllabus is to communicate to your students what the course is about, why it is taught, where it is going, and what would be required of the students for them to complete the course with a passing grade. So because students normally view your syllabus as a contract, it's important to be clear as possible and to avoid changing major aspects of your syllabus after the first day of class. So the syllabus templates on our website make your syllabus development easy. And again, they will contain syllabus statements that meet the syllabus best practices. And we have syllabus not only for online courses, but we also have syllabi for face-to-face and blended courses as well. So here is a screenshot of the Blackboard online course template. So it is a course structure that is designed with student-centered learning in mind, and it's organized to make it simple and easy for you and your students to navigate your class. It was created using the university quality assurance standards, and many of the links found on the course menu on the left contain boilerplate language that you can modify to fit your actual class. So please note that many of the items contained in this template are recommendations through the quality standards and through the syllabus section requirements. And the syllabus template is available through instructional designers at the Center for Teaching Excellence. When designing, developing, and delivering your course, you are not alone. There is support for instructors across campus to help you with writing your course learning outcomes, creating course content, integrating technology into your online courses, preparing assessments, instructional materials, activities, actions, and so on. So we have the Center for Teaching Excellence, instructional design team that can help you with moving a course to the online instruction. We also provide one-on-one consultations, pedagogical assistance with face-to-face, online, hybrid, and blended courses, and identification of technologies to support teaching and learning. The Office of Distributed Learning provides support for course production, transcription, closed captions, and test proctoring. E-learning services at the Division of Information Technology supports Blackboard and other technologies. The Thomas Cooper Library provides essential services for teaching, including educational films collection, streaming films, electronic reserves, library instructions, and other reserves. Student Disability Center promotes inclusion by ensuring equal access to all aspects of the Carolina experience for students with disabilities by facilitating the provision of reasonable accommodations, providing modifications, and serving as consultants to the instructors, staff, and campus partners. So now you may be wondering, what is your next step or next steps? So of course, you're now sitting in the webinar Design, Planning, and Online course. We have 2 other webinars coming up: Develop, Build an Online course, Deliver, Teach an Online course. So in the next 2 webinars, an instructional designer will dive deeper into developing and delivering an online course. And of course, you can visit our website to get registered for those events. So now I'm going to open up the chat area for any questions, comments at this time. So feel free to chat in the chat area. and post your questions. And there is a question: are there sessions that will help us create the proposal to move classes online? And Jeremy and all others, the instructional design team can work with you independently to help you prepare your proposal to move a course that is not already approved for online delivery. And we'll be happy to assist you. Just reach out to us. You can reach out to me. My contact information is on the slide, or you can submit a request through the Center for Teaching Excellence main website, and we'll be happy to help you through that. But I don't believe there's actually a video or a session that'll be held anytime soon.
Yeah, and I would just kind of back up what Gloria was saying was a lot of the information that she gave today is good information to start with, but because the approval process is so specific and there's only so many general resources we can give, the best service when it comes to course approval that CTE offers is that direct consultation, because we can kind of coach you on the process and we can help you review your syllabus, and we can actually review your syllabus with the checklist in order to kind of help you. And because there are some generic pieces of information, but a lot of it comes down to the specifics that you need as well. So I just want to say thank you so much to Gloria for being here today and for providing this for us. If anybody has any additional questions, please contact CTE. Please feel free to email either one of us. Gloria's email is there on the sheet. I'm going to pull up the link to the evaluation real fast. And otherwise, we'll also be sending out the link to the evaluation. So I want to say thank you all for joining us today. And please let us know if you need anything. And have a great day.
Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.